1721 to book your next appointment.
Is your car running like a dream, or does it need a little TLC? At Dr. Automotive in Smyrna, we treat your vehicle like it's one of our own. Let's hear what some customers have to say about Dr. Automotive.
Been coming to them ever since he opened up. Good family. I recommend other people to get them repaired here because I knew they would do it and do it right. Been happy to send people to him because I trust what he does so much.
We're crazy about him. It's all about the doctor.
For quality care you can trust, visit Dr. Automotive in Smyrna. We've got the cure for your car.
Josh Moss with Affordable Heating and Cooling provides residential HVAC and duct cleaning services to the Middle Tennessee area. With more than 20 years of experience, Josh Moss and the AHC team provide 24/7 service and take care to ensure whatever work you need done is done in a professional, timely manner. Contact AHC at 615-745-1676. That's 615-745-1676. Or go to their website at affordableheatingandcoolingtn.com.
This is Conversations with Mike Sparks.
Are you concerned with the state of America, your state, your community? Then you're in the right place. State Representative Mike Sparks. He and guests are here to talk about local politics, history, faith, and freedom.
All right, you're listening to Conversation with Mike Sparks. I'm your host, Mike Sparks. Got a big show tonight, and before we get into that, let me tell you who our guest is that's coming up. Antonio Ferguson and Denarius Stinson with Community Options of Smyrna and Middle Tennessee, and then at about 5:17, we've got Smyrna local historian, music historian David Piercy, that's going to be on with us. It sounds really interesting. And before we go into that, I want to give a shout out to Fire Chief Bill Culbertson on his retirement, and many thanks to Mayor Mary Esther Reed and the Town Council for asking Senator Don White and I to say a few words to present a state proclamation. But nice event, very touching event, nice send-off for the chief, and but someone I knew that influenced Chief Culbertson was someone who influenced my life was the late Sally Walls, Tennessee's first female police chief, and one of the first female officers in Middle Tennessee. But when I started to recognize the chief, I just asked everyone how many folks were influenced by the late Sally Walls, and it really surprised me. It looked like every hand went up in that entire event center at Smyrna Town Event Center. It used to be called Town Center. But anyways, I know Chief's excited for retirement, and it's really neat to see how someone like Sally Walls has influenced so many people, including our fire chief and so many other officers that were in the audience there, as well as Councilman H.G. Cole, Jennifer Britton, and others. And anyways, been kind of a chaotic past couple weeks. You know, we've had Antioch school shooting, and really some challenging times. We've got Bridgestone in Laverne laying off 700, and looks like Nissan's going to be laying off a few folks. And but challenging times, and I'm hoping folks can really work together to try to solve some problems. And speaking of working together, Antonio, I know y'all help a lot of folks that are less fortunate, that with Community Options and helping address the homelessness crisis and special needs. And we just done a little Facebook Live just now, but I see where you were promoted last year too.
Executive Director.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been with Community Options?
I've been with Community Options going on now 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Late February is when I was promoted.
Okay. Now, if folks aren't familiar with Community Options, I know you had a nice ribbon cutting. Commissioner Brad Turner of Smyrna was there.
Yeah.
And the mayor was there, said several words. The new town manager, David. Is it Santucci? Santucci.
So. I know Lee was there with the housing authority as well.
Yeah, and so that looked like it was a great event that day.
Yeah. I think we did a great job of bringing the community out, and we're looking to do the same thing in some of the different things that we have coming.
So,
up.
how many folks y'all work with right here in Middle Tennessee to help with housing?
So overall, we have a little over 100 individuals currently, whether that's through housing, employment, PA services, and transportation. So it varies.
So it looks like Community Options, y'all are in 11 different states.
13 now.
13?
Yes, 13.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what got both y'all into this type of work? 'Cause a lot of folks probably, wouldn't go into, advocacy like this for helping less fortunate and helping housing and those suffering with disabilities. What motivated y'all?
Well, for me personally, I was an MTSU grad, wanted to stay in the area, but I also wanted to do something with advocacy. I was a political science major, so I didn't know if it was going into politics or going into community work.
Yeah.
So while I was in college, I started working at a healthcare organization similar to Community Options, and I fell in love with the work. I think when you get to working with individuals who have intellectual and developmental disabilities and seeing how they develop over time, it just pulls on your heart. And so I knew that this was something that I wanted to do for a long time. And so years later, I'm still doing this work.
Yeah, good. Did your parents influence you for community service, for, just trying to help others like that? I mean, is that who you credit it to, your mom, your dad?
Yeah, I would say me personally, maybe my grandmother. That was the first person that I was ever a caregiver for.
Yeah.
And so I think being young, doing that sort of work now in my adult years, it just reflects and shows.
Is your grandmother, she's still with us?
No, she's not with us any longer.
She passed, yeah. Well, the folks, we went through that taking care of my mom and, about 6 years, and then my sister passed last year. And boy, I tell you what, man, if you talk about a ministry that's needed is right there in our nursing homes. I mean, it's a sad place, and just the caregivers just trying to keep staff, and seems like they're always understaffed. It's not that they don't care, the management, but it's just such a challenging field to be in. Now, how do y'all do like group homes?
We steer away from group homes, so they live in homes and apartments like you or my family would want to live in. So there's no more than a 3-bedroom.
Okay.
Some live with a 2, and we try to get them in homes that you ideally will want to live in with your family.
Yeah.
So
you'll have 3 clients though.
We call them individuals. Together. Yes, possibly 3.
Okay.
And it just varies. There's a couple of roommate meet and greets that happens. A lot of families meet and talk before then. But again, we try to stay away from that hospital or hospital setting.
Yes.
Where it's more focused on that one-on-one.
Yes. I had a guy that came to work for me years ago, and that was back years ago when I first got my car business started. And I remember, man, he had such a desire to work, and I really didn't need him, but I let him work. He was special needs. But what was amazing with this guy? His name was Donnie Charles. A lot of people in Smyrna knew who Donnie Charles was. I seen the dude bowl a perfect game. I mean, perfect game. And he, with all due respect to late Donnie, he probably couldn't ride a bicycle, but he could bowl a perfect game. I thought I was amazed when I seen that. Do y'all see folks that they have the challenges, but then they're almost like a savant in other areas?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've seen someone similar, right, where they are the Stephen Curry. They can't miss a basketball shot, but
really,
don't know how to cook themselves breakfast, right?
Yes.
And so there's different things with different people, and so we just try to support them the best we can.
We were able to help his brother Brad had a bad fall a few months ago, and they were up in the Capitol with me several years ago. We were trying to find placement for Donnie. It just got so hard for his family, his dad, who's now passed away, to try to take care of him. And I was asking him about, how can he be so gifted in one area? And I remember asking his father one time, because Donnie called me and said, "Hey, why don't you come to my birthday party?" I said, "Where's the birthday party?" He says, "It's at Hardee's." It's kind of funny. It's at least 10 years ago. So I went. It was just me and his dad and him, and I guess he was about in his 50s. And I asked his dad, I said, "Man, how did he get so good at bowling?" He said, "Man, he just practiced. But what the brother would say, if he cut the stove on, he'd get into watching a bowling video and he'd forget all about the stuff. He couldn't juggle both, like that. So what can the community do to try to help y'all to help your mission and what y'all are doing?
For us, it's creating opportunity. So you asked what got us started. For me, it's advocacy. Just being an advocate. The people we have, they have the ability to do the same things we do. They just need the tools and resources.
Yeah.
So whether that's a small business owner saying, I'm going to employ people with disabilities and not discriminate, whether that's, hey, I know someone that could possibly help you because I can't right now, so plug them into resources. The big thing right now is this 5K that we do have coming up, and that's the start. Even if you can't donate or register, showing up. We'll definitely have some individuals there handing out medals. Get to know the community. Our goal here is to grow in the Nashville and Rutherford region. So with you guys' support, we continue to expand in this area.
Now, you're going to, how many runners you got right now?
We're 60 runners shy of our 300 runner goal.
Oh, really? 300's your goal? Wow.
300's the goal.
Yeah. That are you running? Y'all running?
You'll see me walking.
I may walk. I may walk. I had to run to the Capitol today, man. I was late, and they needed me. I never knew I was missed, man. People text me, "Where you at? Where you at?" I had a bad car wreck. Well, it was a car wreck. Couldn't get through traffic, and I just started trucking. And I've been trying to run that treadmill a little bit. I'm not good at it, So the 5K, and where's it at again?
It's at Shelby Bottoms.
Shelby Bottoms. Now, if you're coming from Smyrna, I-24, where do you turn on?
You're asking the wrong guy. I use GPS here.
Shelby Avenue?
It's off of 1900 Davidson Street.
Okay. Is that over by the old East High School?
Yeah.
Okay, which would be across the street towards the river.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I used, when I was in my 20s, I had a Coca-Cola route, and I had all them schools back in the day, So a 5K walk, run, race. Now, is this y'all's first?
Annual. The company's had it for 33 years now.
Okay, Cupid's Chase. Why Cupid? I mean, I know it's the month of February.
Yeah. So the company was actually founded in February of 1989.
Okay.
So that was our original date.
Okay.
The pun on words is that you get a red or white shirt. So red means you're unavailable. White means you're available. So hopefully you can find your other.
I got a friend of mine that I hadn't seen him in a few years. He's out of Clarksville. He's in the film industry, and I remember him promoting some kind of a Cupid's Run or something.
I think that's a week after hours, if I'm not mistaken. But
is that the one? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. I think like it's the girls running like lingerie or something. It's something crazy.
Not familiar with that one.
I hadn't been to that. I just remember him talking about it, and he done some of the video work for it. And but I mean, I guess it gets people out, and you got to be a little creative, So on the pistol, firing up the pistol.
8 a.m. sharp.
8 a.m. sharp.
Yep.
So it's a starter pistol.
Yes, sir.
And it's legal.
I believe it's a horn or like a prop. So not a real gun.
Okay. Because I was asking my friend Marty Luppin. I was telling him about y'all coming up and me. I said, I think I'm firing off a starter pistol. I said, I wonder if that's legal. You know what I mean? In Nashville, and he said, I got several pistols here. He don't have a starter pistol. But no, I'm excited for you to even ask. I know y'all were on. Who was the sweet lady that was with you?
Mika McClendon.
How's she doing?
She's doing awesome. She's the state director, so she's busy.
I've seen Mika, I guess, in Nashville. Yep. I think y'all come up every year.
Yeah, and we'll be up to this year again. Yep.
What week? In March?
Yeah, the first week of March.
Advocacy.
Yes,
how's everybody treat y'all when you come up? Everybody cool?
Tennessee is awesome. We get to see you guys and chat with you. Dawn White, I know I've chatted with her. Mark Pody and Clemens as well. So that was my
John
first
Ray?
race. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, John Ray. He's a Democrat, but he's a good guy. He really is. I'm gonna tell you, he's got a sense of humor, man. He used to sit behind me and he'd say something, and he'd say something funny, and we're on camera, and I'm like, don't laugh, because he'd say something putting down like
other person,
either our party or something about the bill. He's quick, man. You got to have fast bicycle to keep up with John Ray. But fortunately, he moved in the leadership position, so I ain't got to worry about him saying nothing funny and me cracking a smile or something, So folks want to find out more information about community options.
They can go to communityoptions.org. That's COMOP.org. There you'll find out what we have for our individuals as well as people who want to get involved.
Now, going back to to your years at Chattanooga. Why did you choose Chattanooga for college?
I was from Memphis, and I went to school. I went to school overseas, so I wanted something away from home but close enough that my family could come.
Really?
And then I just fell in love with the outdoor scene of.
Did you? Because did you ever meet Marvin at work for me? He's out of Memphis.
I did not.
He didn't want to go back to Memphis, and then I've got another young lady that was my intern. She didn't want to move back to Memphis. I see a lot of folks that they want to stay here in Middle Tennessee.
It's more of trying to grow. That's what it is. I still go home. I rep Memphis or 901 wherever I go. Yeah. But to grow and be on my own, because I was on my own for boarding school.
How often do you go back to Memphis?
I'm actually going back in a month.
In a month?
Yeah, in a month.
Because I know Marvin, he'll head down there. He's in law school now. Oh. He's working with Office of the Courts.
Okay.
I think that young man he'll be a judge in probably 15 to 20 years. Now, where are you born and raised at?
So I'm born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee as well.
Memphis as well? What part? Did y'all living in the same areas?
No, I was from South Memphis. Well, no, South Memphis is the same area, but different schools.
Yeah.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington.
High school, I went to Ridgeway High School.
Ridgeway? Okay. How, you hear about a lot of crime and stuff in Memphis. I mean, we had when I first became a lawmaker, they hosted us down there. I'm going to tell you the hospitality that Memphis had shown was amazing. We were at the Peabody down there. And in fact, I think we're going back. I heard somebody talking about heading down there. I got to meet Priscilla Presley, Elvis's wife. And I think they're trying to raise money for the, is it the
Graceland?
No, not Graceland. Some kind of, I guess it's like a Hall of Fame music studio in Memphis that Elvis played at.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's why she was up advocating. Yep. She was up lobbying. And I talked to her about the Bill Amazing Grace, and she said it was his favorite hymn. Well, anything else y'all want to get into in the last few minutes?
I just hope. Well, I want the city to know we are 60 runners shy. We need and want you guys' support, whether that's coming to volunteer or you being one of the 60. We need to reach that goal. The goal is to increase awareness and inclusion into the community.
Yes.
And we want Rutherford, Smyrna, and Nashville to know that we're here to stay.
Yes. You ever think how blessed we are to live in Middle Tennessee, how blessed we are to live in this great state and this great country?
Yes, sir.
Well, guys, Antonio Ferguson, Denarius Stinson, Community Options, and February the 8th, Saturday. Now, if they want to call you to sign up, what's your number?
My number is 423-298-6340.
All right, and go to communityoptions.org. Google,
yep.
communityoptions.org. Well, thank you so much. Connor, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Josh Moss with Affordable Heating and Cooling provides residential HVAC and duct cleaning services to the Middle Tennessee area. With more than 20 years of experience, Josh Moss and the AHC team provide 24/7 service and take care to ensure whatever work you need done is done in a professional, timely manner. Contact AHC at 615-745-1676. That's 615-745-1676. Or go to their website at affordableheatingandcoolingtn.com.
Most people know that their insurance can provide them with coverage for the many life's mishaps. But I can help you also unlock discounts, save money, and get benefits with Farmers Insurance Policy Perks. Whether we're discussing home or auto insurance, I am here to help you understand these great perks. Call me, Mark Lewis, at 615-625-7070 for a quote, and you can get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Not available in every state. Only available at select Farmers branded policies underwritten by Farmers Truck or Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliates.
Mike and Felicia Sparks, owner of the Vanity Zone Salon, want to invite you to stop in for your next haircut or color. Their stylists Michelle, Tori, Tracy, Brandy, Sarah, and Gail offer the best creative cuts and color for all ages, for men and women. The Vanity Zone is located at 732 Nissan Drive in Smyrna, to the right of the Crystals Restaurant. To look and feel your best, visit the Vanity Zone Salon today. Call 615-355-1721 to book your next appointment.
At Dr. Automotive in Smyrna, we're committed to providing local car owners with top-notch auto repair services. Let's hear what some customers have to say about Dr. Automotive.
I just really appreciate Danny and his whole team. I always feel like I'm going to get great service and the right outcome.
You just don't find any better people.
He's always been very good.
We've got the cure for your car. Dr. Automotive, keeping your car running smoothly, mile after mile. Visit our website, smyrnaautorepair.com.
Josh Moss with Affordable Heating and Cooling provides residential HVAC and duct cleaning services to the Middle Tennessee area. With more than 20 years of experience, Josh Moss and the AHC team provide 24/7 service and take care to ensure whatever work you need done is done in a professional, timely manner. Contact AHC at 615-745-1676. That's 615-745-1676. Or go to their website at affordableheatingandcoolingtn.com.
Most people know that their insurance can provide them with coverage for the many life's mishaps, but I can help you also unlock discounts, save money, and get benefits with Farmers Insurance policy perks. Whether we're discussing home or auto insurance, I am here to help you understand these great perks. Call me, Mark Lewis, at 615-625-7070 for a quote, and you can get a whole lot of something with Farmers policy perks.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Not available in every state. Only available with select Farmers branded policies underwritten by Farmers Truck or Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate.
Mike and Felicia Sparks, owner of the Vanity Zone Salon, want to invite you to stop in for your next haircut or color. Their stylists Michelle, Tori, Tracy, Brandy, Sarah, and Gail offer the best creative cuts and color for all ages, for men and women. The Vanity Zone is located at 732 Nissan Drive in Smyrna, to the right of the Crystals Restaurant. To look and feel your best, visit the Vanity Zone Salon today. Call 615-355-1721 to book your next appointment.
At Dr. Automotive in Smyrna, we're committed to providing local car owners with top-notch auto repair services. With over 2 decades of experience, our ASC certified master technicians are experts in both foreign and domestic vehicles, ensuring accurate diagnosis and timely, cost-effective repairs. From oil changes to major engine and transmission repairs, we've got the cure for your car. Dr. Automotive, keeping your car running smoothly, mile after mile. Visit our website, smyrnaautorepair.com.
Hi there, my name is Rusty Russ. I, along with my sons, Luke and Reed Russ, sell real estate for Stevens Group in the Middle Tennessee area. We are a team of professionals who have the knowledge of local and regional market, which allows us to offer you a full range of commercial, industrial, residential, and investment real estate services, matching our resources with your needs. You can call us at 615-366-8900 or at my cell 615-406-5553 or email jrustyrust@comcast.net.
AFFI is Middle Tennessee's premier choice for pest, wildlife, and moisture control. They specialize in those difficult and unique cases. You can reach them by phone at 615-300-2395. That's 615-300-2395. Or stop in at 200 Glenrose Lane in Smyrna.
Yeah, that's what I told him.
All right. Hey, we're back. Conversation with Mike Sparks. I'm your host, Mike Sparks. I've just done something kind of stupid. I was asking this professional DJ, David Piercy here, you ever been on the radio before? And it's just natural to just say, make sure you speak in the microphone. You know, Roger, this was your idea to have David up. And David, you got a big fan right here in Roger.
Oh, yeah. David's probably the most laid-back guy I've ever known, actually. And, went to high school with him. We worked together. But he's, I'm going to let him tell his story, okay? First of all, he is a, rock and roll, let's see, I'm going to read this list. I got a list of stuff he actually is here. He's actually a writer, radio host, rock historian, and DJ for 4 years. And he's met a lot of interesting people in his lifetime. So I want to get him to tell a little about himself and how he got started in this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Musicologist is the new term. Rock historian, and now they're calling us musicologists.
All right.
Okay.
I answer either one.
Okay. I'm old school. I'm going to call you the rock historian.
Hey, I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Well, what station did you start off at?
I was over here at WMOT.
At MTSU?
From 71 to 75.
Wow. What y'all play? What kind of music y'all play back then?
You know, it was an NPR station, National Public Radio. So it was elevator music during the day. It was a couple hours of classical music late in the afternoon, and then it was a couple of hours of oldies.
Yeah.
And then I
oldies
played,
meaning
like 50s.
50s, okay.
And then I played blues for a couple of hours, and then they had a couple of hours of what they called underground music, which was deep cut album oriented rock. And see, it was an NPR station, and we were supposed to be a nameless, faceless voice on the radio, but that's what I wanted to do. So as far as I was concerned, every time that switch went on, it was the David Piercy show.
Really? Did you get to play any rock music of that time? You probably couldn't because it was...
Oh, yeah, because, now there's the old school blues.
Okay.
But, 60s and 70s era rock was blues based. All of those British bands that came over here.
Yeah.
Eric Clapton, Led Zeppelin, a lot of that stuff. It was blue. Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
And then you had Johnny Winter and stuff like that. So I played all of that stuff. So I got to play my rock and roll, and it was technically blues. So that's what we did. That's what I did. I got in trouble for it because also, well, what I got in trouble for, I knew what was good in that era on the radio, but they had a very limited idea of what should be played. So I would get the latest records before they actually came into the station, and I would just bring my own records in and play them. And I really got in trouble for that because people would be calling for the stuff I was playing on nights when I wasn't there. So I knew I was right. So I did it anyway. So don't regret a second of
that. We've got Jeremy Smithson. I call him the intern. Jeremy's well, I'm not a musician. I guess he's a drummer.
Yeah,
drummer.
All right,
we've been talking about
you've been running with this gag for the past month or so,
and it never gets old. It never gets old.
The joke keeps on giving. Huh?
Well, we were talking about, but there really is power in music.
Sure, there is.
And I would have never thought that years ago until I've been around music a little. I mean, I've always liked music, but I never thought about music bringing people together.
Well, it always has. So. I think it has a certain healing power, and it's like my guy, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
He could just hit a note, and, every emotion I've ever had from the lowest low to the most joyous high was he expressed somewhere in just a sound or a lyric. Yeah. So music, it hits you deep. That's why when a famous musician passes, it hits people so hard because it's a big part of your life that goes away. So when I have had the opportunity to meet some of my rock and roll heroes on occasion through the years, I always say to them, thank you for the soundtrack to my life, and they appreciate it. I met Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top, and I said, man, thank you for being a big part of the soundtrack of my life. And he thought about it for a second, and he said, I'll take it.
I like that.
So they appreciate that.
It was Bob Marley that said one good thing about music, when it hits you, you feel no pain.
Yeah.
Now, you're a Hendrix fan. Are you a big Bob Marley fan as well?
Well, I was not a reggae fan. I mean, I appreciate who Bob Marley was, and what he means to people. But I was more into the blues-based rock and roll. I still am. I'm a real dinosaur in that respect.
Well, I guess you've worked on a documentary about Hendrix.
Yeah, I have.
So have you covered him coming down was it the Troubadour Club he played over here on Nashville Highway?
No, that's Jefferson Street, and I'm really a big part of working on a big part of the history of that. The Jefferson Street Sound Museum was founded and run by a good friend of mine named Lorenzo Washington. And see, Nashville, Music City, that's why it's Music City. Because in the 50s and 60s, before I-40 came in and just decimated that neighborhood, there were hotels and nightclubs and restaurants all up and down that, and on any given night, and it's mind-boggling to think about it, but you could see Aretha Franklin, Otis Redding, Little Richard, it just goes, Tina Turner, it just goes on, and just in any club on any night. So, and all of that, he's trying to preserve all that history because it's going away.
Yeah, well, I saw you at Channel 5 last year. I saw you on a segment on that about that museum. I did see you on there.
It's really an incredible place, and I would encourage anybody to go down there and meet Mr. Washington and have him give you the tour, because he grew up on that street.
Okay.
And
what was that called again?
The Jefferson Street Sound Museum. They have a website, and right down the street is the I think it's the Elks Club. And it was a nightclub back then, and there was a really hot guitar player in town named Johnny Jones. He's gone now. I interviewed him in 1990, and he died in 2009. But he was a big man, and he was the hot guitar player in town. And on the stage in that club, he and Jimmy had what they call a cutting contest, where they just got up there and just go for it. And there's a huge mural on the side of that building that kind of celebrates that. Okay. And my wife and I, Cindy, we went down there once, and a gentleman came out the side door, and I introduced myself and said, I know about all the history that happened in here. Is there any way we could go in and see the place? He thought about it for a second and said, come on in. So we went in, and all these old black gentlemen were sitting there drinking beer. They welcomed us in, and I went up there and touched the stage. This is where it happened. So that's one of two stages that Jimmy played in Nashville that still exist.
Okay.
Wow.
You actually met his dad, didn't you? Jimi Hendrix's dad?
Yeah, I met him in it was 96. I was an art major in high school, and I had painted a picture of Jimmy, and I took it down. We took it to Seattle, and I met him there and gave him that. So,
well, speaking of art, he's got a really good story, man. If y'all ever pull up STLROCKN
on YouTube,
yes, on YouTube, and you'll see a photo or a painting of Jimi Hendrix. Push that, and you're going to see all these YouTube videos David's got out, and all these people he's seen and met and had interactions with. But one I picked out, I wanted to talk to him about tonight, was B.B. King.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard of B.B. King.
Yeah. Yep. I want to give a shout out to, I was on the special events committee. When I got to MTSU, I was an art major for a couple of semesters, and that didn't work because they didn't like me and I didn't like them. So I got into mass communications, and in no time I had a column in the paper reviewing concerts and records. And I had my own show on WMOT. But shout out to my friend Harold Smith. Harold was the head of student programming, and he brought me and he welcomed me into the special events committee, and they booked the concerts at MTSU. And the Allman Brothers, the original Allman Brothers, played over here in the alumni gym. Which
before
was
Murphy Center.
Murphy Center wasn't even a muddy hole in the ground yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
And sadly, I went in there recently, and they walled up the stage, so there's no stage anymore. But the original Allman Brothers played in there. So B.B. King was coming, and I was still an art major, and I painted. It was what was the cover of what was then his current album, Live at the Cook County Jail, and if I do say so myself, I captured the image very well. And he came in. And, nowadays people have entourages and guitar technicians and this and he walked in, carrying his guitar in his hand, and his guys were following him.
Oh, Lucille.
His guitar, they called his guitar, he called his guitar Lucille. And he walked in, and I was 19 years old. I had hair down to there, and I introduced myself, Mr. King. I said, you've given so much to the world through your music. I said, I'd just like to give a little something back to you. So I handed him this painting, and he said, "Man," he said, "that is really cool." He said, "Here, hold this," and he handed me Lucille.
Really?
Wow.
So I'm hanging on to this beautiful Gibson guitar and thinking, "Don't drop it."
I was about to say,
Don't drop it, you know. So he's showing the guitar around to all of his guys, and he comes back around to me, and I had the album cover, and I said, "Would you sign this?" And he signed it. And I've still got it in a frame in my office. And I handed him the guitar back, and he shook my hand, and I said, "Thank you, sir." And he thanked me. So we went down, took our seats right there at the foot of the stage, because there was no, it was a gym. There was no seating except the bleachers. So I'm like right down there, and he played a great, I saw him again, you know, later on, but he played a great show that night, you know, over 2 hours. And at the end of the show, they're kind of doing a little instrumental blues shuffle, and he motioned with his head, and one of his crew, a young kid, came on. He said something in this kid's ear. So the kid left, and he keeps playing, and the kid came back on stage with my painting, and he stops the band, you know, and the band stops, and he says, he didn't say gentlemen, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "the young man came in, met me when I came in, and he gave me this, and I wanted to show it to you," and he showed it to the crowd, and they applauded, and his name, and he read my name, and he said, "Where are you?" So, of course, I was like right there at his feet. And he said, "Come on up here, Dave." So I was 19. I weighed 150 pounds. And he's a big, robust guy. And he just pulled me up on stage, threw his arm around me, and they hit us with a spotlight. He said, "A hand for my man Dave here." And I was like, well, I thought, who does that? Who does that? So he gave me a guitar pick that said B.B. King, shook my hand again, and thanked me. And so I jumped back down, and he said, "Dave, this next song is for you." And he played "The Thrill Is Gone," you know, and I'll remember that till the day I die, you know, because it was just he was such a nice man.
Yeah.
It really was.
But I thought that when I watched that video, I said, "Man, this is a cool story. I'm gonna have to get that out of David when we get here." That was really cool.
Let me go back to where my musical journey started.
Okay.
You know, I came along at just the right time. I was 10 years old in 1964 when the Beatles played Ed Sullivan. So, you know, that was all the kids were talking about the next day was the Beatles. And so I went out and bought my first record. I bought the single of "I Want to Hold Your Hand." I was so proud of it. I had my picture made with it. I still got that picture. But I came in at such a time. I lived through what I think is the greatest era from about 64 to 74. That's my favorite. The most creative music. A time when musical giants walked the earth, and you could see them in concert for $5.
And they actually played. The instruments and all.
So
it was live.
So it was not just that era, but I came in on the tail end of the pioneer stuff, like Buddy Holly and Eddie Cochran, and Elvis was still Elvis. You know, he hadn't turned into the Las Vegas Elvis yet.
You're right.
And so I got that, and the Beatles were so creative. It's hard to explain to somebody that wasn't living at the time how exciting it was waiting for the next Beatle album to drop. Because I was always the first person in the neighborhood to get the new album. And all the kids would come over to the house, and we would spin that album and listen to it. And I really missed those days, you know, because it was such a special time, you know. And the late great Tom Petty, who was about my age, once said, "Every generation thinks the music of their era is the best, and in my case, it happens to be true."
Yep.
So you know, so that whole era, that's where I came from, and so many great concerts.
Oh yeah.
You know, like once again going back to my MTSU days, Joe Walsh, when he was has his trio, the James Gang, they played over here. Jackson Brown, an unknown Jackson Brown, opened for him and got booed off the stage.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. It was just him and a guitar and a piano. And the people, you know,
I got you.
They did that to Dylan when Bob Dylan came out with.
Well, that was in 1965 at the Newport Pop Festival when he came out with an electric guitar.
Yeah.
Did you go see the movie?
I haven't got. Have you seen it?
That kid's going to win an Oscar.
Yeah,
really.
We went to see it.
Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy
He's
Chalamet's
going to
a
win
pretty
an
great
Oscar
actor.
behind that.
Yeah, we
I
really
haven't
good.
got to
My
see
wife
it.
wants to see it again.
Yeah.
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 It's really
But
good.
you know, and I saw Elvis 3 times over here. I took my mother to see Elvis because she would never buy a ticket on her own. I said, "You're going to see Elvis." So I took. Well, I didn't take. I just got tickets for her and my dad, and she still remembers it fondly to this day. She says it felt like he was singing just to me, you know. And but that's what he did.
I've got a lady, Carol Parrott, in my Sunday school class, and somehow we got to talk about Elvis a couple of years ago, and here she just turned 88, I think yesterday,
right?
And I guess Elvis threw her his scarf.
Oh,
I think she's still, you know, Carol Parrott, you know, Miss Parrott.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, oh man, she was so giddy about that. And it was really cute to see this lady in her 80s just almost like revert back to when she's like in her 20s and still so excited about that.
What he would do is one of his guys, they had a box of those scarves.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm not going to tell her that, though.
No. So his guys would come and throw one of those scarves around his neck, and he would go to the edge of the stage and lean over, and he'd kiss one of these women. You'd never see that these days. And they would take the scarf. It was just something that he did at his shows, and everybody knew it.
Yeah.
So I saw him 3 times in 2 weeks. He played 2 nights in a row.
Okay.
And then he came back the following week and did a 3rd show, and I saw all 3 of those shows. So they had the bleacher seats were pushed up under the mezzanine, so the stage was pushed up to the mezzanine. So I was ushering people down to this to right there to almost stage side, and I was supposed to stand in that little gap where you could actually step between the rails and onto the stage. So, and this happened 3 times during the show. He just looked back where I was standing, and those women got on the aisle like Olympic runners in the blocks, getting ready to run. And when he started coming this way, they came down those stairs and hit me like a tidal wave.
Wow!
And he was standing right behind me, and they just crushed into me, and he did his thing, and they took the scarf, and then when he went away, they went away, you know. But and they left me hanging on the rail there.
Wow.
But it's still, you know, it was Elvis, you know, and
Yeah.
Elvis has left the building.
And you know, Mike actually met Priscilla last year, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, I met her last April. That's what I'm saying with Antonio and Denarius earlier about she was up advocating for, I believe it was the Memphis. You probably are familiar with it. The Memphis, is it Hall of Fame that they're trying to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I believe, and she was up. I guess the state looking at trying to help them restore it, and
No, to restore what?
I guess it was is there a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Memphis?
I don't know. I know there's a blues. I think the Handley Blues Hall of Fame, but I don't know if they've got a brick and mortar building or not.
Well, she was up advocating for one of the buildings they were trying to restore, and I just got to talk to her briefly about, I passed a bill making Amazing Grace official state hymn, so
Right.
I asked about why it was named Graceland. I thought they named it Grace, and she said it was named by, I guess it's the Tooth family that was already there that Elvis bought it from. And when I mentioned the hymn, she goes, that was Elvis's favorite hymn.
Right.
And I was telling her, I played it while my mom was dying, and it literally, it was like giving my mom medicine. She was in a lot of moans and pains and hospice. And man, when I started, put my iPad and I started playing the bagpipes with Amazing Grace, and it was like medicine.
Right.
And
right.
and then she passed the very next morning.
Well, you know, the only Grammy Elvis ever won was for a gospel album. For
I
all of the
didn't-
rock
I
and
did not
roll
know
that
that.
he did.
Are you- really?
The only Grammy he ever won was for a gospel album.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but you know, there was 2 Elvises. You know, there was the rock and roll '50s Elvis, and of course there was the 1968 comeback Elvis.
Yeah.
You know, and he was still rocking then. You know, I this is just me. When he wanted to go to the white sparkly suits, somebody should have said no. You know, because you know, I wish he had stayed the rock and roll Elvis.
Yeah.
But Colonel Parker had that grip on him, you know, and Elvis should have gotten out, because the era we're talking about here, that late 60s, early 70s, is when these great rock artists. You could go into the Village in New York or in London and see Eric Clapton or somebody like that on stage, or Jimi Hendrix just jamming on stage. They just walk in and play on a given night. And Elvis should have been hanging with people like that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine him singing blues with Eric Clapton playing along with him, or duets he could have done with some of the great rock singers, but he just wasn't allowed to do that, and it's really a shame, really is. But we're glad for what he left us. He did leave us with,
Yeah. Well, I was watching something today about, is it Jerry Reed, when he recorded a song and then Elvis wanted to record it, and I think that Colonel Parker was trying to saying, hey, you're going to have, he was going to play
that was
for
Dolly
him.
Parton. He wanted to Elvis wanted to record "I Will Always Love You."
Oh wow, really?
And and Colonel Parker said, "Well, Elvis has to get half the publishing, if he records a song." And she said no.
But I think Jerry Reed did something similar and walked out.
I'm not familiar with that story, but did Jerry Reed knuckle under and let him do it, or?
No, I said he wasn't. No, he wasn't going to do that.
I mean, I've seen Dolly tell that story, you know, and she's, gosh, who wouldn't want Elvis to record your song?
Speaking of Dolly, my assistant at the time, I guess it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I wanted to honor, at the time everybody's wanted to tear down monuments, and I wanted to honor Amazing Grace, because it was written by a slave ship captain. A lot of people don't know the history.
Okay.
But I asked my assistant, he's out of Memphis, and he says, I said, who is it that everybody just seems to like? What musician? Who does everybody like? It's not Kid Rock, it's not Garth Brooks. Most people like Elvis, and he says Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
And so we had this idea to do the Amazing Grace sung by Dolly Parton would be Tennessee's official state hymn. Right. And I told my assistant, and I said, look, if this goes south, I'm throwing you under the bus. It's your fault because it's your idea.
Right.
And we got a friend of mine's a friend of Dolly's, and she said that she agreed she was going to record it at, I guess, Sony Studios. And I guess her legal team got involved and was like, no, don't get involved in politics. And she backed off of, so we just tweaked the bill to where it's just Amazing Grace, as official state hymn. But there's so many folks like Dolly that sang it, Elvis that sang it, U2, and you go back. Have you been over to MTSU Center for Popular Music?
No, I haven't.
Well, I reached out to them when I had the bill, and for some advice, and some great folks over there, and someone told me to get a book called it's a book, Amazing Grace by, I think, something Allen, and I call these confirmation. I get the book in the mail, excited to get the book, read the back of the book, and it's U2,
right?
Bono giving a little, some kind of a little shout out about Amazing Grace, and I guess he started off as a church group, didn't they?
I don't know my YouTube.
Yeah, and what was cool, I pulled up YouTube,
right?
Typed in U2 Amazing Grace, and Bono's singing Amazing Grace at Bridgestone Arena.
Oh, I never heard that one.
Man, you just go to YouTube and pull up Bono and Amazing Grace. Man, it really is very moving for him to do that.
Wow.
Let me do another rock and roll story here.
Yeah,
something local. A couple that deal with Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash had a show on ABC, ran for 3 seasons from 68 to 70.
Yep.
And the first time we went to a tape in 1968, I was 15. My mother went to high school with him.
Really?
And she was a year ahead of him. Dyess, Arkansas, population 550 maybe.
Oh, wow.
And so I had her high school annual. And she was a senior, he was a junior. And, in his picture, he's kind of snarling like Elvis.
Yeah.
So back then, there was no security like there is nowadays. So afterwards, I just went backstage, and I went up to him, and he was taller than me, and I said, "Mr. Cash, when's the last time you saw one of these?" And he said, "Son, where'd you get that?" And I said, "It was my mother's." And he said, "Well, who's your mother?" And I showed him her picture, and of course he knew the family because everybody knew everybody then. But 2 years later, another tape on the Johnny Cash show. I was a senior in high school, and he had Eric Clapton's band, Derek and the Dominoes. They did the Layla album.
Oh, wow.
And they were the guest, and they weren't, I had just found out, through the network, through channels, that they were going to be the guest, although it really wasn't. It was in the paper, but they didn't say his name. So I was up in the balcony, and back then the Ryman was the musty, dusty, old Ryman. It wasn't the beautiful restored facility it is now. So we were up in the balcony, and then I was looking down at the stage, and I thought, how can I get down there because I had Clapton's first solo album. I said, how can I get down there and get this signed? So in the corner, in the balcony, in the far corner, and that's walled off now, there is no such thing, but there was a bunch of props up against the wall. So I walked over there, and I looked behind those props, and there was a door. So I went through this door and came down this really steep staircase and came out right in front of Eric Clapton's dressing room. And the door was ajar, and I was kind of afraid to go in. Like I say, I'm 17 years old. And some guy looked out and saw me stand there and said, "You want to get that signed?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Come on in." So I walked in, and it didn't occur to me who else might be in the room. But I just focused on Clapton. I went over there and I said, "Man, I really appreciate it if you'd sign my record." He shook my hand. He didn't say anything. I handed him a pen, and he started writing, and it didn't write. And he shrugged his shoulders and looked up at me, and I reached in my pocket and went, "I have a spare." So he signed my record album. And I said, "Thank you very much," shook his hand again, went back up to my seat. You could never do something like that again. Right. But I still have that in frame on my office wall.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
So, yeah. So that was November 5th, 1970. In fact, you can go on YouTube and see the performance he did, because I thought, I've got to get on this recording. And after the first song, Johnny comes out and he goes, "Well, you know what? I really am proud to see the people here love you like they do." And you can hear me whistle just really loud, and the applause starts up over again. So forever and ever, in perpetuity, there I am on that recording. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, I mean,
you've been wanting to jump in here.
You just put me on the spot, but I've just been listening to you talk about your just life of meeting all these larger than life musicians that I've only just heard about, because my folks, that was their music. They grew up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and so that's what I was growing up listening to. I listened to Eagles, Zeppelin, Skinner,
Led
Kansas.
Zeppelin. It was the first concert I ever went to. August 25th, 1970, at the Municipal Auditorium.
Oh, really?
$6.50 for a 10th row seat on the floor for Led Zeppelin.
Really?
And that was a couple of weeks before their third album came out. And I remember that was probably the last listening party I ever had. I got that album, went over to a couple of my buddies' house, and they said, "I knew you'd be the first one to get it." And we listened to that album.
That's not the one you play backwards.
No,
that's the Beatles. That's one you're more into the Beatles. That's that one you play backwards. That was the
But I always, I never made much into that, because rock stars, if they had a message like that, they just scream it out loud. They wouldn't make sure you had
you know
to
what
play
happens when you play a country music song backwards.
Yeah,
don't you?
your truck gets fixed, your dog comes back to life, and you get your job back.
And your woman comes back
too. What's
Yeah.
your favorite Allman Brothers song? I know what it is. I'm just going to see if you say. I think I know, but go ahead.
That's hard to say. I'm
Well, right here we got a major highway comes through.
I'm real. Oh, you don't mean Ramblin' Man?
Yeah, Ramblin'. I'm trying to give you a hint.
Probably no.
That's not really my.
That's
That's a good one.
That was post Dwayne. I'm more like.
Sweet Melissa,
Midnight Rider, or something like that. One Way Out. When Dwayne was still leading the band.
And he's the one on Derek and Dominoes. That slide, that is Dwayne Allman.
Oh, really? That's him on the.
I know something. Yeah, but that's actually him.
Absolutely.
Wow. I always thought that was just Eric just going to town on his guitar.
I got one more real quickly. I know we're running short here. in 1973, I went to, and this group may be beyond your scope, but at the time in 1973, Uriah Heep was one of the biggest rock bands in the world.
No,
and they still exist, but there's only one. All of them are gone except for the guitar player. So he still goes out with a bunch of guys, but it's not really Uriah Heep. But they were huge. They had a live album and a new studio album they were touring behind, and we found out where they were staying, and they were staying at what was then the big hotel in Nashville, because there weren't a lot back then. Roger Miller had the King of the Road Motor Inn. There was a nightclub on the top floor called the Roof. So we went over there.
Is this still there?
It's not that. The building's still there, but it's not not the King of the Road. But we got there before they got there. And like I said, this is where all the entertainment types sat. And I'm sitting there in the lobby waiting for them to get there. And Chris Christopherson and Rita Coolidge walked in and sat down on the couch next to me, and I was like, "Whoa!" But I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. Yeah. But they recorded here in Murfreesboro one of their albums when they were married.
Recorded where at?
I can't remember because I used to play that record, but I would have to, I think it was over there off of Salem somewhere. Well. But there was a recording.
Are you doing any research about the Jimi Hendrix in visiting Murfreesboro?
I know he played all around the area.
Because I had heard
that club off the old Nashville Highway.
Was that Troubadour?
It was some.
There was a club as you pass the battlefield coming in.
That's where the building still there?
It's gone. It was a big place, but it was right about where when you go under the underpass. It was right there on the right. It was a big place, but there's not.
Well, I had heard. Have you heard the story? Casey Clark, who sadly passed. He would. Did you ever know Casey? He would almost imitate Jimi Hendrix. He passed last year, and he was always called WGNS. I had him on. Billy, that played guitar with him, knew Jimi Hendrix and he had got to meet Jimi Hendrix. But I had heard that Casey told me the story that Jimi Hendrix was standing there at the Troubadour Club, and he really wasn't famous, and they were going to let him play and cut in, and man, they said he grabbed a guitar, started playing behind his head with his teeth, doing all kinds of stuff.
That was Jimmy.
Billy Cox, who's his best friend and his bass player, told me that when they were playing the clubs up and down Jefferson Street, he said he built him a 50-foot cord. And he would walk off the stage and walk through the crowd, through the club, between and sometimes out on the sidewalk.
Now, do you know how to get a hold of Billy? Because he was supposed to come on with Casey about a year and a half ago, and Casey started developing some health problems.
Yeah, I think Bill has some health issues.
So he was in a 270 and in the 101st Airborne.
Yes, there were. I went to Fort Campbell with him in '85, and he took me through, and we pulled up next to Service Club number 1, and he said I ducked under that awning right there to get out of the rain coming from the movies and heard guitar playing inside.
Yeah.
And he said, and that's when I went in and introduced.
That's what Casey was talking about.
I introduced Billy Cox to Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Stevie brought him on. That's one of my YouTube episodes.
Yeah.
And they played a couple of Hendrix tunes at the Opry House. That's all on my
What's
YouTube
your favorite Hendrix song?
Voodoo Child. No, Still Raining, Still Dreaming. You know, that's. But
the first one you ever heard was Fire.
Let me stand next to your fire. I heard this rogue DJ jumped the AM.
Did they play that on the radio back then?
No, that was the thing. This guy that I listened to every night is the greatest rock DJ I ever heard. He's sadly gone now, but one night he was supposed to go off at midnight, and the guy wasn't there, and he said, "I'm gonna play what I want to," and he started playing Jimi Hendrix, and I had never heard it. I thought, what the heck is that? So I wound up riding my bicycle over to the air base there in Smyrna because I was only 15, and I bought. You could buy an album for $4 back then.
In our 10 seconds we got left, I want you to go on with Dr. Krause. He's a DJ up here on Thursday. He was a DJ in California. He was my political science professor. Jennifer Krause, Channel 5. That's his daughter.
Oh.
But thank you, David Piercy.
Hey,
now,
David,
folks, how do they get a hold of you
blast.
if they want to see more about some of your stuff online?
Go to YouTube and type in, just think Still Rockin', STLROCKN, and a little image of Jimmy will come up. You click on that, and all my episodes will come up.
Yes.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Hey,
and like I said, I wish you had about another hour.
Yeah.
Getting all into it.
Hey,
here.
man, it was a blast to pick your brain.
Yeah. We just scratched the surface, but it was fun.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
All right.
See y'all next week.